Good morning. Good morning, fellow people. Today is Saturday, January 13th, 2024. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning here in southwestern Nevada in Nye County in the township of Pahrump or Pahrumpertucky, if you're not into that brevity sort of thing. My name is Edward Balakwa, and I am your tour guide. I'm your helper. I'm your Sherpa in this morning short little podcast designed to help you get from where you are to someplace better on your journey in and through life. That's it. No big deal. Just going to present some tools, show you how to use the tools, encourage you to use the tools, help you create a routine, and then the habit. Let's see if we can lower this a little bit. And then the habit to do the routine every day. And these are good habits. So, good morning to all. Once again, I was going to say good morning to all and to all a good night, but that doesn't really work because it's 6 o'clock in the morning. So, through the week, we do physical, mental, and emotional. On the weekends, we focus on the spiritual. Today, I'm happy to announce this is G.school, G.school 1 point day 1, our new program that we plan to roll out to everywhere we can, especially to people who are incarcerated and formerly incarcerated. G.school. We got the name from Stanford. Has a thing called D.school, which is design school, and of course we all know about B.school. So, boom, here we are. Once again, let's start with our breathing exercise, and we're going to do G.school day 1. The theme of today that's going to be in the worksheet is sometimes we don't see the obvious. So let's stick around for that. Sometimes we don't see the obvious. G.school day 1. But again, let's start with our breathing exercise from Dr. Andrew Huberman, who has an interesting video. We'll probably post it tomorrow, talking about why he believes in God. The question is, what does he mean by God? And it's probably a Christian God, but I don't really know right now. Start watching the video of why he believes in it. It's basically, he believes because as a neuroscientist, he said the human brain is just wow. It's the ability of the human brain is wow. That he can't see that it being designed, having evolved as it has, that there had to be some intelligent design in there somewhere. Okay, breathing exercise. We're going to do his breathing exercise to give us energy, get as much air into our lungs as we can. Tones. Okay, so we start with an exhale, get all the air out of our lungs, and then double inhale. So, and 3, 2, 1. Exhale fully. Okay, there we are. Good morning, Wadababy. How are things back in Virginia? Or Virginia. All right, okay, so let me go to the worksheet, see if we have anything special, a couple little tidbits, then we'll get right into it. So our podcast, our morning routine is 2 parts, the podcast and after the podcast. The podcast has 2 parts, preparation for today and planning. After the podcast has 3 parts. So one is an attitude of gratitude exercise to get us started in the right direction, focusing on the positive, not the thorns in our side. Number two, the second part is an examination of yesterday. How did we do? Number three is to prepare the day by projecting what the day is going to be like, then going into it, doing it like an athlete. So here we are, though, and on our planning. Why do we plan? Because if we fail to plan, we plan to fail. So we want to work our plan our work, and then work our plan. Given, though, that there's no such thing as a plan, there's only planning, because no plan survives contact with the enemy. Alrighty, so advice from an 80-year-old: become someone's hero. Today's TED Talk, day 6 in week number 2 of our neuroscience-oriented approach to success. Day 6 of week 2 inside our skull-sized kingdom. Today it's Jill Bolt Taylor, her stroke of insight. It's a brain scientist talking about having lived through a stroke and talking about how the different hemispheres would click in and click out as the blood was destroying neurons and the brain was trying to recover from it. So a very good video. Definitely one to watch. A keeper. All righty then. I think that's it. I think we can go into our G.school day 1. So you've probably heard the story about the devout, let's say, Christian guy, took his family to church, lived uprightfully. It's very good to not blaspheme, not swear, not drink, not smoke, not carouse around. He didn't have improper thoughts, wouldn't see a woman, commit adultery in his heart. He was the ideal kind of guy, very strict in his beliefs, and somewhat judgmental, which is not hard to become when you have such rigid standards for yourself. It's hard to maintain the I do me, you do you. You have empathy and compassion for people not at your standard. But this was our man, and he had all of the faith in the Lord that one could have. And in the scuttlebutt around town was the upcoming storm, the big storm, the 100-year storm. And he said, I have confidence. I'm not worried about it. I have confidence in my Lord. The Lord will save me. I have confidence because I worship God. Everything I do is for God. I live my life for God. God will save me. And the storm came. And there were announcements. Evacuate, evacuate. The storm is coming. Evacuate. I don't need to worry about it because the Lord will save me. And he prayed, Lord, please save my family and me. Of course, his wife was obedient. His kids were obedient. And so he said, we don't need to worry because God will save us. God will save us. And then the police started showing up and the fire trucks. Evacuate, evacuate. No, the Lord will take care of me. The Lord will save me. And the water's rising and the flood came. And then it became impossible to leave by car. Wife is faithful, just believing in her husband. The kids are believing in their parents, their dad and their mom. And the father is praying, God, please, we know that you'll take care of us. We have all the confidence in the world. And the water is higher, and the family's now on the second floor. And a boat comes by and says, okay, we're here. Get in the boat. No, God will save us. Don't need to worry. And then finally, they're on the roof and a helicopter comes and they drop a rope and they say, okay, will you get on the helicopter now? Because your house is going to be gone soon. Upstream, the houses are going and all of that debris, you're going to get washed away. No. I believe the Lord will save me. I am a believer. I have lived my life 100% according to the Word. And of course, what happens? Next scene, cut, fade out. Next scene, front of the pearly gates with St. Peter, with Jesus, with the Lord. Lord, why did you forsake me? I've done everything in my life to worship you, to do as you command. Why did you let me die? And the Lord said, look, pal, I gave you notices. I had somebody show up. The police were there. I sent a boat. I sent a helicopter for you. What more can I do? Okay. Right. Sometimes we don't see the obvious. Sometimes we don't see the obvious. It's right there in front of us. But we're looking over here, so we don't see what's right here. And my experience going to the several churches I do, approximately seven events a week, is people don't see the obvious. And including last night in church, is that people are going back, for example, to Psalm 73, and they're dissecting it, and they're going through the whole thing, and they're repeating it. But not one thing from Jesus is said. We're talking about Psalms. We're not talking about Jesus. What's John 3:16 for most of the people, right? God sent his son that whoever believes in him shall have everlasting life. And Jesus, I don't know where Jesus ever said, go to Psalm 73. I think what it is, it's the case of the people who have sort of self-anointed, or they've gotten into a group of people that say, we're different, we're special, we need to teach them what we know. Versus, we need to get them to see what Jesus said. Because it's pretty simple. Gospels are pretty simple. Pretty simple. Two things. Love God with all your heart, mind, and your soul, and your mind. Love your neighbor as yourself. And then in John 15:12, it's not, well, what does that mean, love your neighbor as yourself? Because I don't really like myself. I think I'm a bag of bones. I think I'm worthless dust. God doesn't care about me. So in 15:12, Jesus said, love your neighbor as I have loved you. And what was the context of that? He's getting ready to, he knows what his fate is going to be. Be willing to sacrifice everything for your neighbor if it's the right thing to do. Be willing to do that. Really simple stuff. So our purpose at G.school is to go to the people who say, what a bevy, are you still there? Go to the people who are not believers. Why? Because they believe God is out there. They don't get what Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. They overthink it. What did Jesus say? Act like children. Be like children. What are children like? They're like sponges. Adults are like bricks. Children are like sponges. I remember when Wadabebi came back one day in the 4th grade or 5th grade saying, the kid who sits next to me, his dad is the president of the CIA. No, Sophie. Yeah, he is. He's the president of the CIA. No. Do you remember this conversation? First of all, there is no president of the CIA. Secondly, if there was, he wouldn't be sitting next to you in class. Children are like sponges. It's hard to get them. You have to make sure they don't believe things that are not true. Where adults are like bricks. Getting new information into bricks is hard. It's like getting new information in bricks, like getting water into a brick versus water into a sponge. I'm multitasking over here. Water into a sponge. It takes a lot of pressure and a lot of time to get water into a brick. Sponge, you're constantly squeezing out the bad stuff, right? So, G.school day one. Sometimes you don't see the obvious. And when it comes to spirituality, the obvious is just do what Jesus said. Forget all of it. This is for people who are not believers. Again, disclaimer, sorry, should have given the disclaimer. I'm not talking to the people who are the preachers, the pastors, the people standing up in front of the people reading from the Old Testament. You start with one sentence and then you jump over here to Paul and you go to the here and you're bouncing all over the place, impressing people with your knowledge. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the people who say God doesn't care about me, I don't care about God. The people who in their hearts are not believers because it doesn't make sense to them because of the way it has been presented. It's what G.school is for. So step one, sometimes we don't see the obvious. We overthink things, but time is racing at 6:19. I gotta get on the Peloton. So G.school day 2 tomorrow. Please join us. Give it a good faith hearing. Don't just quit after one visit and say, oh, this guy's an idiot, he's a moron. That's true. But don't quit because of that. Focus on yourself. Set the narrative aside. As we said last week, take your beliefs, just put them over here. Just put them in this metaphorical bag. Don't worry, they're safe. They're right here in arm's reach. Nobody's trying to steal your beliefs. Just be open to, you learn from people who believe things that you don't believe. That's who you learn from, not in the echo chamber. Hello, hello, hello. I'm great. No, we learn from people who we don't agree with. Okay, so with that, Wadabevi, do you have time? Time is on our side. Okay, well, that's it. Thank you for being there. Come back tomorrow, day 2, G.school day 2. With that, I'm going to say Auf Wiedersehen.